Side now into all of this, former Republican South Carolina Congressman Trey Gowdy joins us now. Congressman, thanks. Your thoughts on this night early?
The three states I'm watching, Brett, are North Carolina, Virginia, and Texas. The rest of them either can't be won or can't be lost, depending on who the nominee is. Those are three swing states. Biden's done well in North Carolina, Virginia, may do well in Texas. So my next question is going to be, will the Bernie Sanders supporters be enthusiastic about Joe Biden come November? I can tell you 2016 had Marco and Ted coalesced and tried to defeat Donald Trump. Neither one of them would have won because Trump supporters were not going to back them in November. I do wonder whether Bernie supporters will be enthusiastic about an octogenarian named Biden come November.
Yeah, but what about the concern of the Democratic Party that as you look at the numbers from Bernie Sanders in the South, that how in a general election would he do against Donald Trump in those states that you need to compete in?
Well, he would not do well in Florida, particularly with his recent flirtation with Fidel Castro. So you look for maybe North Carolina, probably Virginia, but Biden's not going to win the southern states either. He's not going to win Arkansas. He's not going to win Alabama. He's not going to win Oklahoma. So the electability, look, the reason Clyburn helped Biden, no question about that. But Bernie had a 2-week period where they beat the hell out of him on electability and how bad it'd be for down ballot candidates. I mean, he had about 10 days worth of lots of people waxing how bad he would be if he were the nominee. I think that's impacted tonight, too.
So how good a candidate do you think that Joe Biden would be? If he does come out of tonight when we get through the West Coast in California, looking like he could beat Bernie Sanders, is there a moment when everybody sort of looks back at this and goes, but can he beat President Trump?
I think two things. I think he is benefiting right now because he's considered a moderate, but so would the rest of the universe compared to Bernie Sanders. But I can tell you, folks in South Carolina, don't think of Joe Biden as being moderate. He's a liberal Democrat, except when you compare him to Bernie Sanders. Now, how will he do as a candidate? I mean, Martha, watching him makes me as nervous as watching Lindsey Graham in a spelling bee. I mean, I am terrified watching him. It's just,
you had to throw
Senator
Graham under the bus there. I think you said it was like watching a chain smoker around a gas station over the weekend.
That too.
So tonight, do you think there'll be a definitive winner tonight if Texas goes Biden's way?
I think if Texas goes Biden's way, I don't see much of an argument for Bernie Sanders being the nominee. I just think all the momentum's with Joe. But then when Sanders is gone, then Joe is no longer the moderate alternative. He is a Delaware liberal that is running against a president with a pretty good record. So he actually benefits, I think, in some ways, being compared to Bernie. We'll see how he does when he's being compared with the current economy.
Congressman Trey Gowdy, thanks for being with us, as always.